Still on the search of that one true love? On the limbo in this crazy world of dating, marriage, relationships? Well, listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Relationship Podcast, your one-stop podcast for everything about relationships.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Relationship Podcast brought you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Gloriann. Hi, and welcome. As I said in the beginning, my name is Gloriann. I currently live in Florida, but I was born and raised in Puerto Rico. So, now that you know a little bit about me, let's get started with today's episode. We will be talking a little bit about dating in a pandemic, how the pandemic has created a new normal for people in a relationship, single people, and how the pandemic even affected people to break up. Ouch. At the end, we'll talk a little bit about how exes, have texted you because they're bored in their house due to the COVID-19 pandemic. We can all agree on that the year 2020 was a hard year for everybody. Worrying about losing your job, your home, or even a family member due to the coronavirus. It was and still is a stressful time to be in. When it comes to relationship in the pandemic, it has been a roller coaster. Even if you've been in a long-term relationship or just getting to know that person, it's been a learning experience. I'm currently not in a relationship, but I can tell you how hard it has been for me, and I'll even tell you a little bit about my friends' experiences. When we all had to be in lockdown, it was really hard for me because I was finishing college and I was meeting new people. We can all agree that being stuck at home and just going to the supermarket wasn't the most fun thing at the beginning of the pandemic. I'll talk a little bit about how my friends have been surviving in this pandemic and the new challenges that they had to face in their relationship, guys. Let me tell you, I have a friend that has been in a 3-year relationship with her partner. And for them, at the beginning, it was a really big challenge because first, I can just say they see each other, they were seeing each other every other day. They both live with their parents, and I'll be honest, my friends' parents are really strict. If you don't know a little bit of the Latino culture, Latino parents can be really strict. And if you are in a relationship, your partner can't stay the night. Okay? It's a different type of thing. And obviously it depends on the parent that you have. But anyways, if you're married, that's a whole different story, obviously. The point is that in the pandemic, because both want to keep their family safe, they stayed home and just went out for food, the essentials. A month passed and the relationship wasn't the same. They both were depressed and stressed. And obviously both of them were really anxious as well. So my friend is this type of person that needs attention all the time. And we all have that type of friend. That that needs attention all the time. But anyways, so she started to notice that her partner was really distant with her and she didn't know what to do. She obviously called me and she talked about it, And the only thing that I could tell her at the time was that this conversation, she needed to have it with her partner, not me. Obviously, I wanted to help her, but one thing that I'm big on, it is communication. Communication is key in your relationship. Your person needs to understand how you're feeling, and you need to understand how your partner is feeling as well. Obviously, with the pandemic, you start to see things that you didn't see before. Obviously, now at least my friend at this time, she was seeing or getting to know her partner on how he responded to being depressed and stressed and anxious. Obviously, when I told her about that, she told me that I was right and that she knew that she needed to talk to him about it, but she really didn't know how to. And I told her, just, express yourself the way that you just expressed to me this. You need to express, that to him. So, she talked to him and they came up with a plan of seeing each other and staying in each other's houses. Obviously, I'll give you an example of it. They stayed, and let's see, in his house, so they stayed in his house for 2 days, and then they stayed at her house for 2 days, and then one day they were taking a break from each other. And she talked to her parents, obviously, because as I said, Latino parents can be really strict, and her parents are. So once she talked to her parents, and explained herself and everything, her parents told her that they noticed the difference in the way she was and how the pandemic has affected her in a big way, because she was always with him. Doing this made it work for them. And of course, they have their ups and downs. For me, they're a little bit traumatic, but that's another thing. That's their thing, and obviously we can't judge. But anyways, doing this, they made it work, and they have had their moments, and they had the opportunity to make their communication better as a couple. They still have their fights, every couple does, but at least they know how to deal with them. Anyways, so I want to talk about another experience that... Okay, so anyways, I wanted to talk about another experience, about a friend of mine that started to date one of her friends. When they started dating, they were maybe 7 to 8 months into the relationship, and then the pandemic started. Guys, you won't believe this, but they moved in together. And it was oh, okay, no problem. You guys are living together. Great. And for me personally, I do think that it was too fast, but then you need to start thinking about they were friends first and that they known each other for years. So I swear this experience for them living together was easy for them. It's oh, okay, what? I don't know how, but they made it work. Because for her, it was really hard at the beginning. She lost her job, and this guy just helped her. When I'm telling you, helped her, it felt like you're watching a Disney movie. But obviously then I remember that there's a lot of relationships out there that are healthy and not toxic at all, and that's one of them. They really do have a healthy relationship. Anyways, back to it. She at one point felt that, she felt bad because even though this guy was helping her, she at one point felt bad and even wanted to break up with him because the fact that she was depressed, she didn't know how to tell him. Her first instinct was to step away. And instead of talking to him, she was just going, she was going through it and just in her thoughts. She was an independent woman. She was paying her bills and getting her life together. And once COVID came, she lost her way. Like, obviously, she was obviously paying her bills, paying her things, and then this person, she's relying on this other person, and she's like, no, this is why I moved out of my house, of my parents' house. I wanted to be on my own and be dependent. So she talked to him. He was really, he wasn't really at the beginning understanding, but then he had some empathy with her and just wanted to help her not feel useless. And then later, he understood that she needed her space and getting her mojo back. And he was always there for her. And he still is, to be honest, because even though we're in February, it's been a year since the pandemic, he's been there helping her, and they still live together. And hey, good for them. Because honestly, the pandemic has shown us how to deal with people as well. We all know that communication is key to make a good relationship, to make a relationship work, and compromising. If you can't really do that, you need to take a break and see what you want to do. Either break up with your significant other or help each other out to make your relationship stronger and better. Because obviously, you talk to your friends about your problems and they help you out. Why can your partner do the same? That's what you have to do. Your partner has to be your best friend. He has, they have to be there, and they need to help you. And if they're not willing to do that for you, I think that you need to then think your relationship. And don't get me wrong, it's not, I don't want you to think like, oh my God, this girl is telling me to break up with this guy, with my boyfriend or my girlfriend because she's not, this person's not helping me doing this and that. It's like, no. First, obviously, you need to talk to them about it, and, you give them the opportunity. If they don't really do anything about it, then yeah, unfortunately, you have to make a decision. And so, yeah. And then, in another experience, oh my God, my friends are gonna kill me. But anyways, I had this other friend that she was, listen to this, guys. She was in a long distance relationship. And plus, she visited him a couple times. He visited her. They were making it work. And then when the pandemic came, it was, hey, they were in a long distance relationship. It was even worse with the pandemic. Now you can't travel. You can't really do a lot of the things that you were supposed to do before COVID. And so the way that they really tried to keep dating each other was, doing video calls, texting a little bit more and sending each other like videos and watching movies together. And so anyways, the thing is, unfortunately, they broke up. First of all, the fact of the long distance relationship, and I'm telling you guys, they worked together like 2 years, doing the long distance relationship. And I guess the fact of them not seeing each other every other weekend, it was hard. And especially the fact like being stuck in their house, I guess they started to think about their future and what do they want. And so yeah, unfortunately they broke up. And my friend, obviously, like, she was devastated because she was trying to make it work with this person. Like, come on, a long distance relationship, and because of COVID, they break up. And I told her that maybe it was the way, he had time to think, and he decided like it wasn't the best thing for him at this time. But anyways, what you can do, to be honest, breakups are part of it, are part of our lives. And so yeah. All right. So, and yeah, unfortunately they broke up. So, talking about that, about breakups, coming up, we're going to talk about, I am going to talk about how to deal with a breakup in a pandemic, advice on how to get new hobbies, and breaking up in a pandemic can affect you in a whole different way. So, yeah.
The GSMC Sex Podcast is a show that examines all aspects of sexuality, from physical to emotional to spiritual. Join our hosts as they discuss age-old questions, common misconceptions, and the latest topics surrounding sex. They'll tackle topics about sexuality from the complicated to the hilarious and everything in between. GSMC Sex Podcast is your show for all of your questions about sex, even some you might not have thought of yet. Download the GSMC Sex Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you can find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
All right, welcome back. Now that we talk a little bit about being in a relationship and how difficult it is to be in a relationship in a pandemic, we'll be talking about breaking up in a pandemic. Either it's divorce or a breakup, it's hard. For many of you out there, before the pandemic, you thought, okay, we're gonna be together forever, or we can handle everything. Bam! You see in the news about there's a new virus and that it's quickly spreading all over the world and that we need to make a worldwide lockdown. The lockdown starts and you say, okay, great, working from home, for a little while. I can spend time with the family and even be with my partner a little bit more. What's the harm? You start to see that the virus and death cases are going up and that the lockdown is going to be even longer. You want to protect yourself. You have to protect yourself and your loved ones. So you don't do your normal routine. You don't go to work, go to the supermarket, go to the movie theater, go to the beach. All of that routine that whatever you did before the pandemic, you can't do them anymore, right? It starts to become a challenge because spending so much time with your partner and in other cases, none at all, the problems, unfortunately begin. Okay, so let's be honest. Us as human beings, we need affection, and especially when we're in a relationship, that's how we show our partner that we love them. And the other way around, and if you don't get that affection, people start to doubt about your relationship. Anyways, during the pandemic, a lot of people became stressed, anxious, and the fact that they were stuck in their house working, or that they even lost their jobs, and knowing what was going on, and obviously knowing that what was going on and the fact that they didn't knew what the future hold for them, it was a bigger issue. Trying to distract yourself wasn't an option because you needed to stay home. Not having to see your friends, family, and spending a crazy amount of time with your partner when the lockdown started, it was difficult because you both have a new issue to deal with. I'm pretty sure a lot of you needed to spend time with your family, and if you have children and your husband or wife wasn't not helping, it was more stress for you, you know? For other couples, if your partner has a mental health problem, the pandemic made it worse. Don't get me wrong, being in a relationship is being there for better and for worse. Dating a person with mental health problems is a challenge. You need to be prepared, you need to be prepared for it and help them as much as as much as they need to. And well, you need to be emotionally, mentally, and physically well to help this person out, because they're your significant other. And even if you weren't living with your partner, it was a challenge because you were used to seeing this person all the time, and then you couldn't see each other for 1 or 2 months because you guys lived with your parents or had roommates. You didn't want to risk getting the virus because you don't know the outcomes of it. This is at the beginning, so it's like, okay, so what's gonna happen? And the pandemic was a routine change for everybody. It brought challenges, risk, and a new normal. So obviously, before the pandemic, if we broke up or you broke up with your partner, we could just call you can just call your friends and say, hey, we're going out tonight. Michelle and I broke up, or, can you come over to my house with ice cream and alcohol? Brad and I broke up, or we had a huge fight, or whatever reason it is, you could have distracted yourself. You spend time with your friends and feel a little bit better, or even, you went to work and focus on working and not being at home crying all the time. You got distracted. In the beginning of the pandemic, the bars, the clubs, the movie theaters, the beach were closed. We really were forced to be stuck in the house and think about everything. And obviously, if you passed through a breakup, you obviously had to think about the breakup. What things you could have done different, what things can you do now? And well, in a breakup, it's normal to feel hurt, angry, sad, rejected, and have all the feelings in the world. But when you have to face them because you can't really distract yourself, it's even harder. And obviously you guys understand this. So you were used to this person, talking to them, having a routine with them. You want to replace that time with something. That time, obviously, either you replaced it with a new hobby, or doing exercise, working, painting, creating TikTok videos, because obviously in the pandemic, TikTok was a big thing, and it still is, and experimenting with new cooking recipes, and let's be honest, even getting a pet or a plant. Oh my God, how many people that I know got into the hobby of plants? It's not even funny. 2020 really made an impact for everybody, guys, for everybody, and you can't say no, because it was a really big impact. Anyway, going back to the topic, seeing friends or meeting new people right now unfortunately comes with a lot of risk, and your hobbies can be limited. Even the dating apps now ask you to fill out a COVID-19 preference, like meeting each other, even virtual or face-to-face, if you're going to meet, if you're going to meet them. If it's going to be outdoors or indoors, what do you prefer? Mask or no mask? Social distancing or not? Etc. They're trying to follow the CDC guidelines, as I'm pretty sure a lot of us are doing as well. Others not. It's all a thing. Anyways, another thing to worry about, if you want to meet somebody new, it's it's almost been a year since the pandemic started, and something that, that it has showed us is that you need to stay strong and create a new routine for yourself. Because unfortunately, we are going to be like this for a little while. And we have to create a new normal and a new routine for ourselves. Especially because a breakup can affect you so big that it can affect your mental health. And obviously, mental health, I can say that it has been a really big issue right now with the pandemic. And, and if you guys, if you need to open a dating app, an account for a dating app, I say do it. Because obviously, you can distract yourself for a little while, even though you're using that other person, that if you, rewind. If you match with the person, right, you can distract yourself with this person for a little while. And obviously it's not to get, clinch onto this other person, but, starting to create a new habit. So obviously talking a little bit about dating apps, we're gonna talk next about being single in a pandemic and the dating apps, of course, because we all love those dating apps. So yeah, we'll be back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Okay, so we've been talking about being in a relationship in a pandemic, if you broke up with somebody in a pandemic, and now we need to talk about being single and starting to date in a pandemic. Let's be honest, dating in general is difficult. Then the pandemic comes and makes it even worse with the social distancing and wearing a mask. And it's been a challenge, guys. It's been a challenge. Me as a single person in Florida, it's been weird, to be honest. One, Florida was in lockdown. I made an account, a dating app, an account in a dating app, and it was just interesting. A lot of swipe lefts. A lot of swipe lefts and a couple of swipe rights. So, I matched with some and I didn't match with others. Things go like that in dating apps. Anyways, I matched with this guy that, yes, anecdote time. And this time is my life. I'm not my friends. So anyways, I matched with this guy that I was really in the beginning. I just, I was like, okay, like he's cute, like okay, whatever. So I was really interested in him once I started talking to him and getting to know him better. So he was a college student. He was studying to be a vet. And, coincidence, he was Puerto Rican and he was my age. Anyways, everything started good. The only thing is that he lives in Georgia, but he was in Florida just during the lockdown because his mom lives here and he wanted, to help her around, especially because she had like a lot of health conditions. So, like everybody, at the beginning of the pandemic, he was doing his classes remote, online, just like me, obviously. As I said, I was still in college at this time, and he was going back to Georgia once his college open again, like face-to-face, in class. At the beginning, we started talking in the dating app, and then he gave me his phone number. His excuse, it was hilarious because his excuse was like, oh, I really don't check this much, like, here's my number, text me. And I'm like, okay, like, initiative, okay, perfect, no worries. So we texted a lot, and then we started to use apps that we could like play games. Meanwhile, we saw each other in video calls. I'm pretty sure a lot of people did that during the pandemic. And I'm pretty sure they still do. They're really fun, to be honest. But anyways, going back to the topic once again. So when I thought it was time to see each other, it was me who took that initiative. I told him, obviously, and he told me that he didn't feel safe, especially because I was working with the public. I work in customer service. So I was working, and he needed to think about his mom's health because she was much older. And then he told me that in 2 weeks, if everything comes down, a little bit, that we could see each other. So obviously I completely understand, like, once you, you communicate with me, I'll understand you. And I'll understand. Anyway, so that's not the point. The point is that I understood him completely, and nothing, because we were still in a pandemic. We tried doing different things without seeing each other face to face, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people can relate to that because once the pandemic started, I'm pretty sure that all of us used video call, calling our friends, calling our family, doing Zoom calls and all that. So we FaceTime a lot, and we even watch movies meanwhile seeing each other on video calls. That was funny, because I started to getting sleepy. When I started to get sleepy, he was like, Gloriann, don't start. And I'm like, no, I'm good. So anyways, we talked about our day, childhood, everything that you will do getting to know somebody. 2 months passed, and I told him again, if we could see each other. And bam, boop, I told him, like, this time I came with a plan. So, because I guys, come on, like 2 months, I really wanted to see this person. So, I told him like, hey, we could social distance and be outdoors and even at a park. Oh, because he had dogs, so I told him like, oh, we can even go to a dog park. Like, I'm a dog lover, so I think I wanted to see his dogs more than him, but that's not the point. So he could feel safe, and I was obviously thinking about the safety of both of us and our families, because obviously I'm not gonna risk it, because guys, it's a pandemic, it's a virus. You obviously don't know at the beginning if you had it or not. So anyways, once again, he said no because of his mom. As I said, she has a lot of health issues, and one of them, she has a heart condition. So she was in high risk, and nothing. To be honest, and to go more into detail, in the beginning of the pandemic, we really didn't knew how the pandemic, how the virus was going to affect us. And so he was just worried about it, and you just needed to be careful. You still need to be careful. But anyways, at the beginning, like, people were going crazy, buying disinfecting wipes, hand sanitizer, and even toilet paper. Like, toilet paper. Like, okay. The world didn't end, guys. The toilet paper issue, still don't get it. But anyways, we were talking for like maybe 4 months, and when Georgia opened up, he told me that he was going to go back because he needed to go back to college and go to his classes, rotations, because again, he was starting to be a vet in person. But he really didn't tell me the date or the day that he was leaving. So one day I was getting ready to go. One day I was getting ready to go to work, and we're texting, a normal day, until he tells me that he's going to miss spending time with his mom and his brothers as well. And I was like, what are you talking about? I kind of like didn't knew what was happening. And then he told me, I'm leaving for Georgia tomorrow. And I read texts, and I didn't answer him until I got out of work. I was pissed off. And yes, I was being dramatic. I know. I know that I was. But come on, like, dude, I was trying to understand this guy all the pandemic, I understand that he wanted to keep his mom safe, but man, you couldn't tell me, like, hey, I'm leaving tomorrow, let's do something today. Like, why? Like, I honestly didn't understand him. But anyways, when I answered him, he told me that he was going to invite me to do something, or at least see each other before he hit the road, because he was driving to Georgia. But of course, I needed to be a dramatic person, and nothing. I don't understand why he couldn't just tell me in another text or something. Anyway, he left, and I never saw him in person. But we still kept talking and doing everything the same until one day he finished everything. He stopped everything because he already did the long distance relationship, and he didn't want to do it once again. Yep, that happened. So obviously I was pretty bummed out. And obviously, guys, don't get me wrong. I didn't want a long distance relationship either. But we did have conversations that he had, that he was thinking like moving to Florida once he graduated, because he wanted to be like with his family. Anyways, whatever. that happened. And obviously I can say that we were talking for like 7 months. And obviously, guys, like 7 months, you're getting used to something new. And talking to this person and seeing, Anyways, I never saw him in person. But I really can say that I liked him a lot. And trust me, when I tell you I liked him a lot, I didn't feel like this in a long time. Things happen, and really we need to see it as a lesson. I'm telling you this story because I'm pretty sure a lot of you can relate to the fact that you open a dating account and you really felt different because you were meeting somebody in a video call instead of meeting each other in a public place, And I do wish him the best. That's one thing that I've learned in my past relationships, wishing people the best. Now obviously, like, talking about it, it's a mess. Like, obviously, it's like, I'm pretty sure you guys are thinking at the same time, okay, like, you honestly, like, just basically dated a person for 7 months, and you couldn't even, like, kiss him or see him or meet his doggies. Like, I wanted to meet his doggies so bad. I don't know, like, it's crazy. But anyways, it is a different time. The pandemic, again, has shown us a lot of things. And this is one of it. For me, that's one of the billion things that it has, But anyways, and as I said, dating can be really stressful and difficult. Anyways, and as I said, dating can be really stressful and complicated and messy. But obviously, it is what it is. It is obviously, you start to date because either you feel comfortable or you just want to, meet somebody new or just get over an ex. Anyways, so I do wish him the best. And yeah, talking about past relationships, next I'm going to talk about exes texting you during the pandemic and how, of course, another anecdote of mine, what happened between us. So yeah, stick around.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Okay, so for our final topic, you guys must be like, finally, this girl has talked a lot. Well, guys, that's part of life and that's part of the podcast. So, we're going to talk about how our exes came back once they were bored in their house and they had time to think, about you and what you guys did, and of course wasting their time, and most importantly wasting yours. I'm pretty sure a lot of you can relate of the fact that one of your exes or a couple of exes texted you once the pandemic started, because obviously, oh, I'm bored, or I miss you. So in my experience with all this, obviously when I was talking to this guy from Georgia, I can say like 3 of my exes texted me. Well, when I say exes, like 2 of them, friends with benefits, and the other one was like a complicated situation. It wasn't really a relationship, but anyways. So obviously when the first friends with benefits text me, I immediately knew for what it was. Obviously you get to know this person even though you know that it's just for messing around. When they text you or call you, you know immediately for what it is. So this is this is the story of it. So anyways, this first friend with benefits texts me, and he hits me up with the classic, "Hey, can we talk?" So I'm like, yeah, sure. What's up? How are you? Like, how's everything? How's your family due to the pandemic? This and that. And everything, everything's good, blah, blah. Anyways, so starts to text me and starts to ask me questions about like, oh, how's school? How are you doing? Like, when do you graduate? All the things that he knew about when we were, messing around. So he then starts getting this, doing those little hints, like throwing those little like pieces to see if I like fall into it. And it's like, yeah, nobody. That's not gonna happen, right? Like, once I told him like, no, I'm like talking to somebody right now and I'm a little bit, I'm like a little bit interested in them. He's like, yeah, but you guys are talking, not dating. And then he goes, guys, listen to this. Then he goes, anyways, why will you be dating in a pandemic? Like, how does that work? Anyway, so Jesus Christ. So I go and tell him, like, straight up, being mean, what do you want? He was like, oh, yeah, no, I just wanted to see if you wanted to mess around, and I was like, yeah, no, we're in a pandemic, no, thank you. And then he goes like, oh, you can send me videos or pictures, and I'm like, yeah, no, thank you. Anyways, he got pissed off. And I never, or at least for now, I haven't heard from him. My second friend with benefits that texted me, this one was with a different approach, because he was like, all sweet and like, oh, how are you? How was your day? Like asking me about what I did and just different things. And then he goes and tells me, oh yeah, no, is it the thing that I want to see you? Like, when are you coming to Puerto Rico? And I'm like, oh yeah, no, it's not gonna be anytime soon because we're in a pandemic, and in Puerto Rico, like at that time they had a curfew. I think they still have a curfew, but they changed it. But anyways, I told him like, oh, I don't know, why are you asking? Are you planning to come to Florida? And he was like, no, like, I'm not traveling. It's because I want to see you. And obviously with this one, I was more honest than the first one. And I told him like, hey, like, obviously I don't want to be messing around with people anymore. Well, I say that, and it's like if I was like messing around with a lot of people, but no. And it was like, yeah, no, I'm not interested. Like, I do want a relationship. Like, I want something, I want something serious. And he goes and tells me, this is where it goes all surprisingly. He goes and tells me like, yeah, me too. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I go and tell him like, so you're texting me to have a relationship with me? And then I go, during a pandemic, I was talking to the other guy from the dating app, and then I say this to this guy. I'm telling you, I don't know, I'm a mess. You guys, I'm a mess. And then, obviously, he was really nice about it. And to be honest, in the timeline, if we do a timeline, he texted me, or he started to text me when this guy was already in Georgia, and, I was feeling the Georgia guy distance. But anyways, I didn't want to do the long distance relationship, so I told him like, hey, like, we can be friends and this and that and see how it goes. Because at least in Puerto Rico, there's a lot of things happening right now, and I guess he's thinking of moving, and maybe it will be Florida. So yeah, that was one of our topics, topics about it. And he was open about the idea of moving to Florida. And I was like, oh, okay, so when you're here, like, maybe we can try it. So anyways, that's that. We still talk once in a while, keeping our options open. But then obviously, the third person that I say that it's complicated, obviously it's my ex. My ex, he did a lot of damage. Anyways, that's not the point. Let's get to it. The point is, like, obviously, he texted me and he was like, oh, like, when can I see you? Blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, no. Like, no. What? And, like, he was trying to make conversation with me, and it was just weird because obviously I haven't heard from him in a little while. He and when I'm telling you we have a complicated situation, it is a really complicated situation because we both wanted different things, and we really see each other sometimes, but it's mostly to just, mess around and that's it. But we're not really gonna get back together, and I have that really clear, especially, again, he did a lot of damage to me. He hurt me a lot. And I think he knows that. And obviously he uses me, and I know that he uses me and I use him. So that's a part of it. But anyways, the point is, like, the point in this is you guys, I'm pretty sure, can relate of the fact that your exes texted you as well when the pandemic started, or right now, I'm pretty sure. Because of course we are alone and we start to think about what could have been, or can we give it another try? And it's like, yeah, no, we can't. So I am gonna tell you a little story as well. I was the one that texted the guy from Georgia a couple of weeks ago when, I guess we can say that he's an ex. I was that ex that texted in the pandemic. So I texted him, obviously, about, how he was and everything. I honestly wanted to know how he was. And, we talked, and, he is in a relationship. He's dating somebody, and that's good. And something that I was really surprised that he did was he said sorry to me. And he said, I was really stressed about, school, and I wasn't really emotionally capable of being in a relationship. And, he obviously, he just felt bad, and, he said sorry. And, he told me, I knew that I was wrong, and I was really surprised. So, that was just well, okay, no problem. I told him, hey, I get it, being, stuck and not knowing what to do. I totally understand that. And I would have wished that you told me sooner about that instead of now when I texted you. So yeah. We can all relate to the fact that the pandemic really has shown us a lot, especially if you're in a relationship, or, the struggles that you had in your relationship, or the struggles that you went through when you broke up with your partner. And even me, being single in a pandemic, it's the fact that you sometimes even feel alone. You don't want to feel like that, obviously. You obviously, something that the pandemic has shown us is that we need to be stronger. And obviously we can be stronger because, guys, we've been through this, almost a whole year. And we're still here trying to do the best of it, and obviously trying our best to not, trying to learn our lesson. So I honestly am a little bit surprised about how the pandemic has shown me a lot of things, and especially being single in a pandemic, to be honest. Because the fact that you're single, you obviously have time to think about a lot of things. And once the pandemic hit, I think it was a little bit not bigger, but more constantly to think about, okay, what is it that I want in my life, and what is it that I really need? And I'm pretty sure that a lot of you guys had the exact same experience, because even if you went through a breakup, or you're in a relationship, you did think about what you wanted, what you want for your future, especially in this uncertain time, But, alright, I think that is going to be the end of today's episode. No, I don't think. I know. This is the end of today's episode. I hope that you all liked it and you feel the same way with the experiences that I share with you today. And, it's a new normal for us single people, for taking ones, and even for the ones that are just going through a breakup or just went through a breakup. I hope that, this podcast or this little episode today helped you a little bit in this uncertain times. Thank you for listening to the GSMC Relationship Podcast, brought you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask you that you please remember to subscribe to the show and write a little nice review. That really helps us. Also, if you can please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Relationship Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.